Hello and welcome to Untwisted Threads. This is Purl Soho Knitting Yarn. This 100% non-superwash merino wool yarn features 24 colors. The colorway that we chose is Sandpiper Brown. This 100-gram skein with 200 meters or 219 yards works up as a DK weight yarn. The suggested gauge on a US 6 to 8 or 4 to 5 millimeter needles is 20 to 22 stitches per 4 inches or 10 centimeters. For our swatch, I will be using a 4.5 millimeter needle size. In today's video, we're going to review and score Purl Soho Knitting Yarn using our 5 categories, which are availability, softness, traction, durability, and cost, to help you decide if this is the best yarn for you and your next project. Stay tuned until the end for a few pattern recommendations as well. Would you like to feel our top yarn picks out of over 100 yarns that we've reviewed on this channel? Click the link below to get your free specialty yarn card, knitting patterns, and more. For availability, we give Purl Soho Knitting Yarn a score of 1 out of 5. Purl Soho began as a small shop in New York City and is now a thriving online shop. Currently, this brand of yarn is only available on their website at this time, but they do ship to the United States, Canada, and internationally. They also offer color cards for this yarn so you can more accurately choose the right color that you're looking for. For softness, we give it a score of 4.1 out of 5. You may be familiar that merino yarn is one of the most widely available and common yarns out there. Of course, like all other yarns, some are softer than others. For being a 100% merino, I was a little surprised at how dry and dense it felt. I was hoping that blocking could bring out some softness in this yarn because I was a little scared. It wasn't rustic, but it was the dryness that started irritating both of my hands as I was knitting our swatch. I feel like I kind of know what to expect with merino yarns by now, but this one just didn't hit that softness mark, at least that I was expecting. For a comparison, it is softer than Knitting for Olive Pure Silk and not quite as soft as Drops Fiesta. I'd say it's pretty comparable to Filcolana Peruvian. For a micron count or softness scale rating, we'd estimate it to be about a 23, so not quite your typical merino softness wise, but still far softer than the average Peruvian Highland wool. Now don't get me wrong, I do love Filcolana Peruvian, and this yarn was a little bit soft, but for a merino, that's what I was disappointed about. And after blocking, it did soften a small amount. It was just more dry and rustic than I was anticipating. It kind of reminds me of my experience with Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino. So if you're looking for a soft merino yarn, I don't think this one is it. It just doesn't really stand out to me as a yarn that I would run towards working with again. I also wanted to touch on its weight. This is a fairly dense and heavy yarn. It has the same weight and yardage as Cascade 220. So I would probably size up a needle size or two if you're looking for more drape with this yarn. For traction, we give it a score of 3.5 out of 5. This yarn had good traction. Almost like a cotton or how a more dry yarn acts, I did notice some drag as I was knitting with my nickel-plated needles. It did not make me feel like I was working with a merino yarn, and its dryness made working with it a little less enjoyable. As mentioned with the softness, this isn't really a soft yarn, so it's not gliding on my needles like a soft yarn would. Personally, I would probably opt out of using bamboo needles for this one, as you may experience too much drag when working with it. And if you are a beginner, I would still recommend an aluminum or nickel-plated needle, as this one does have traction. For durability, we give it a score of 4 out of 5. Because merino wool fibers are more fine, it is a little bit delicate on its own. However, the higher twist of this yarn definitely adds some strength, allowing it to withstand greater tension and stress. And because it is not superwash treated, it is feltable. Simply put, this means that you should be cautious with washing and choosing a project for this yarn, as places like your underarms could experience the yarn to felt together when you wear it. You could also add another yarn in addition to this one, like a mohair, to prevent it from felting. When it came to the stress test, there was a very minuscule amount of pilling when feeling the swatch with my hands. I absolutely believe that if this yarn was softer, then it would have pilled far more than it did, as is the nature of softer yarns. This could have been a strategic decision for Purl Soho, making their yarn just soft enough that it wouldn't pill like crazy. For cost, we give it a score of 3.3 out of 5. For being a 100-gram skein, you can expect to pay $14 US per skein. That breaks down to about 6 cents per yard, meaning a size medium sweater quantity would cost approximately $84. Overall, we give Purl Soho Knitting Yarn a score of 3.18 out of 5. If you're looking for a softer Peruvian Highland wool or something equivalent that isn't too overly soft, this could be a yarn for you to consider. Unfortunately for my sensitive skin, I'm not sure if my hands would like me working with it again unless I try coating them with lotion or pre-blocking the yarn before I work with it. So we had a little look on Ravelry and wanted to share a few pattern recommendations with you, hopefully to inspire you if you're wanting to use this yarn for a project of your own. The first pattern is the Cerce hat by Chit Knits. The sizing is customizable and suggests using a US 5 and 6 or 3 3/4 and 4 millimeter needle size to meet gauge. First, the horizontal band is worked, and then stitches are picked up in the round to knit the top of the hat. It features cables, ribbing, and heart-looking dip stitches. The next pattern is the Colette pullover by Sari Nordlund. It comes in 9 sizes with finished bust measurements ranging from 43 to 69 3/4 inches and recommends 8 to 12 inches of positive ease. It suggests using a US 2.5 or 4 or 3 and 3.5 millimeter needle size of the charted pattern to meet gauge. It is started at the back neck and increased to the full width of the back. Then, stitches are picked up for the shoulders and worked as the front of the pullover. The front and back are joined at the underarm, and the body is then worked in the round. Stitches are then picked up from the body for the sleeves and the neckband. The sleeves are worked in the cable pattern and the neckband in 1x1 rib. The hem and cuffs are both finished with a tubular bind-off. This pullover features a boxy fit and drop shoulders and is knitted with an all-over cable and eyelet lace pattern. The last pattern is the Betangled Shawlette by Weissman. It comes in 1 size and measures 61 inches across the wingspan and 9.5 inches deep at the center. It is a fully reversible crescent-shaped shawlette featuring 2 cables curving around a garter stitch field. It is knit sideways from one tip to the other. A short row section in the center creates triangular wedges in the garter field, shaping the shawlette into a crescent. I love that this design includes a hole-like section for you to weave the end through it instead of you needing a bulky knot to tie it. Have you used Purl Soho knitting yarn before? What yarn would you like for us to do a review on next? We would love to hear your thoughts and recommendations in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's review, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.